Greetings and blessings. I greet you with the honor of the great Creator, and I continue to pray that each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I do greet you with the love and the honor of the great Creator. And I hope that everyone is doing as well as possible under the circumstances. And I wish you well and good health and good fortune. And may you not be affected too much by the craziness of the universe, which is really crazy out there. Hey, Chloe. Hello, Roman. I greet you all with a salute. And how y'all doing? Trying to stretch your Iliad crest. Hey, Barry. 6:45, eh? Yeah. My iliac crest is my hips, and they cut both of mine off and stuck it in my neck. It's the bone muscle on your hip, the high point. Yeah, they cut both of mine off at separate times and used them and stuffed in my neck. Yep. Greetings, y'all. I hope y'all are doing well. I will thank you all for my birthday wishes that folks gave me. Frank and David, yeah, absolutely. They've rearranged my body. Yep. Can't really see that scar right now, but it's there. And I've got scars on both tops where they took the iliac crest off. But anyway, yeah. So I thank you all for my birthday wishes. I thought I was going to be around over the weekend, but my sister showed up from Tampa, actually Zephyr Hills. Um, where is it? Dade City. I think it's Zephyr Hills. But anyway, showed up with a lifelong friend of ours, and showed up Friday afternoon, and it was like, "Hi, happy birthday!" And I was like really shocked because I was not prepared in any way to have any kind of company. The house is not conducive to having company, just. But they loved me anyway and come in and spent the night and was spent the Saturday with me. And then, literally less than 5 minutes after my sister went up the driveway after having kidnapped me um, for the day and everything, um, other friends showed up and kidnapped me for the rest of the day and evening and into the night. So, you know, it was a surprising birthday, which didn't seem much under my control, you know, in that, folks come and said, "We're going to do something." I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't have any coffee tonight because if I drank coffee now, I'd want to stay up the rest of the night. Pearl, thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you very much. Saturday night, I had a friend of mine from out of town had brought me a present. And the present was chocolate with something in it. Okay. And I'm just, and the chocolate bar, you could eat one or two, 4, 6, 8 squares. And so if you ate one, it was like, mellow. And if you ate two, it was a little bit more than mellow. And if you ate three, it was even a little bit more than mellow. And if you ate four, it was like, woo. And if you ate six, it was like a pre shaman type of experience. And if you ate the whole eight sections, the bars, the little squares, that you would have a shaman type experience. Well, I started out with two. We lit the fire out there and it blazed up and big and was great. And while sitting there having a wonderful experience, I decided maybe one more wouldn't hurt. And then I ended up, because the bar looked stupid with a chunk missing out of it, I ate another one. Well, let me tell you, the experience was good. Don't get me wrong, but I should have stuck with the two. um, it 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 got more intense than I really wanted, and it was really early in the morning, and I was tired from all of the festivities, but it was fun. I gotta say that it was fun, and it's been a long time since I'd done anything like that. Um, but it was fun sitting outside and looking at the stars and having a big fire, and it was fun, and shared it with a couple of friends, and it was fun. So I don't know how else to explain it at the moment, but it was fun. Um, oh, I wish me more to come too, Chloe. So I'm officially 70 now, but sitting up late at night, herbal chocolate. Yep. Hey, Susie Q, how are you? And so, I was not expecting to do anything like that. I was just going to sit outside. I was going to light the fire, which we did, and sit outside under the stars, which we did. But thank you, Susie. Um, that's what I'm kind of sort of discussing. I had not thought about taking any kind of chocolate yummies. My next door neighbors brought me a chocolate cake, which I've been munching on. Um, but while sitting by the fire and watching the stars and having a near shaman experience, okay, you're following along with this, right? I don't have to like spell it out anymore. I started thinking about the 70, and oh my God, a friend that came up with my sister, he has a heart condition worser than mine, is going to have heart surgery within like the next week now, down in Tampa General. And we're going to have to put a stent in. And we discussed our various procedures, similar medicines were taken. And he's 2 years younger than me, but his condition is much worse. His sister, who was the same age as me, died 2 years ago, went in and laid down and had a heart attack. Said, "I'm going in and go take a nap," and didn't wake up. So the fact that we lived in the same neighborhood, well, that's one thing. But the fact that I got a heart condition, she had a heart condition, or somebody else that we know common has a heart condition. My other neighbor down here that I've known for many, he's got a heart condition that's worse than all of ours. I mean, there's whoa, the folks that after me having my heart attack that's kind of come out of the woodwork, who all have heart issues. Um, and I think I've come out of mine better than most of them. I don't have to have any procedures, knock on wood, up to this point, and that all my tests came clear. So for my 70th birthday, my blood work is good, my cholesterol and all that is good. Everything, the chest X-ray, everything so far has been good. but I did have a heart attack, and I do have 20% loss. And so, but the idea that I've made out better than a lot of these other folkses, and I'm really dang proud of it. Okay. I feel very blessed. Now I've had to make changes, and I discussed this with my friends who've all had heart attacks now, and they didn't make changes until after their heart attacks. And I find that just like just interesting, in conversation. But in thinking about my 70, right? So I'm sitting outside the other night and I'm thinking about y'all, and I was like, man, if I did a live stream now, oh boy, Lord knows what that would have turned out to been the other night, sitting by the fire with my chocolate goodies, right? So but the number seven, right? So the 7 year itch, the 7 year intervals, the number seven in a lot of stuff. So the number seven started to almost obsess me, right? And I'm like, wow, well, 7 years ago, about is when I quit going to the doctor, is when I quit taking medicines, is when I made a big change in my life. And, um, when I was working for as an engineer, I worked there for guess what? About 7 years, you know, six and a half, which was almost 7 years. And I was like, so in looking back, over the my 70 years, I was like, well, 70, well, that's 10 cycles. Okay. If for every 7 years they say every cell in your body has been replaced or something like that, there's all kinds of stuff about the 7 years. And I had gone through this discussion about the 7 year thing years ago, about 7 years maybe. And it's been about 7 years ago that I started my YouTube channel. And it's been about 7 years this. And it's been about, you know, so interestingly enough, whether it's, I put in the description, whether it's a hoax, because there are some people who are like, well, it was 7 years ago and it's something. And hey, Travis, and hey, Tracy, and Susie, and Chloe. And did I miss anybody? They just put me on heart cholesterol meds, and it was on my 57, 16 happy. Yeah, is 111. Yeah, there that number has come up. Now, Highway 111 is like 2 miles from here, and it runs from Moultrie to Meigs. But the number 111 has showed up for me. It really strange here recently, but I can't remember when. Um, I don't know. Oh, hey Travis, how are you? Oh, Isby's here as well. Hi, Isby. I hope you're doing well. Chloe, Isby, Pearl. I think I've said hi to everybody. I had a want to be a shaman experience. The universe gifted me a big, beautiful walking step. Good. It was a kind of, you have to have now reclaim your power back. It was nice. Good. Honestly, good, good. You had some experiences. I did a video a couple of years ago about having a dream and finding a walking stick. I still have it. It's in the back of my truck, and I use it when I go um, on the river in a kayak because I always take a pole with me along with paddles. Well, don't die to see me, Isby. There's been enough dying going on around here lately that, nah, keep it together, brother. You know what I mean? But so anyway, and so y'all interact with me a little bit. What are your experiences with the number seven or 7 years or the pattern seven? Well, there's lucky seven, there's seven come 11 if you're playing dice. You know, there's the Magnificent Seven, wasn't it? The movie, there, I mean, the number seven. So, there are seven sacraments within the Catholic Church. I mean, the number seven, it just kind of pops up in all kinds of different types of scenarios. So I was just wondering and having conversation with people. And in myself, they asked me the other day, and I said, I do feel like there's something new about this. I mean, having my heart attack 2 months before my birthday kind of thing, a rude awakening to like what's next, in my agenda. But then having had these tests done and having them come back all good, like thumbs up, like, yeah, you just had a heart attack. Pay attention. But your weight's good, your numbers are good, your cholesterol's good, all of these other things are good. So now, what about what's next? Well, as the number seven came up with the 10 times 7, 70 thingy, I was like, so does that mean I'm good for another 7 years? Because some of these tests, they're like, well, you've had a prostate exam. Well, you're good for another 7 years. Well, okay. You're good for another X amount of time, right? So I'm like, I absolutely feel like there's some new start. I can't figure it out. It's very, 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 very elusive, but it's there. I can't deny it. And it's like, uh, uh, is it a fresh new start, a brand new start, or is it the new start of a 7 year cycle? So I've kind of come to the grips at the moment that it's 10 cycles of seven, and I'm on a new cycle. Because I mean, and it's an even number. It's been 10, not 10 years, but it's been 10 cycles of 70. It's 70 years. Versus like 35, or like okay, 2 times 7 is 14. So then then at 28, right? And then 7 times, so you can 7 times whatever gives you however many, but to come out with 70, the sort of an even number, if you will, not that the other numbers aren't even. But after this span of and a full 10 cycles, you know what I mean? So, but the last 7 years has been a big changes for me. I've been by myself mostly for the last 7 years. I quit the doctor, I quit medicines. I started doing more of the shaman thing. I started paying, and so the last 7 years has been very much different from the previous 7 years. Well, and then the approximate 7 years that I worked as an engineer, and then the approximate 7 years that I was battling neck injuries and this injury and that injury, and I didn't have a job, and I was having issues, and I went to school, so 7 years, 7 years, 7 years. You know what? For me, there does seem to be a pattern, at least. Can I say that every 7 years there was a specific thing that happened? No. But as I look back over my own life, I go, wow, that was well, that was about 7 years ago. Well, that was about 14 years ago. Well, that was about 21 years ago. Um, what? So there are patterns of seven. As much as I am not trying to make it that way, they are there. Coincidence, synchronicity, just dumb, cruddy luck or whatever. But I find that they're, whoa. Now, I can't answer for the rest of the universe, in that does this 7 year thing work out for everybody, or are these, but there are weird patterns, you know. It's 1:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm going to make eggs with ham and cheese mixed. No pang. Well, that does sound good, Travis. Every 7 years had 13 months. I would think of a new 7 year cycle. However, I personally and a lot of other have felt a positive push to growth or happiness. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's my new 7 years. Um, so other people though could be halfway through their 7 years, or maybe maybe their 7 years somehow coincides with mine. I mean, there's a lot of time frames. But here's the thing. A couple of years ago, I was on this 7 year thing, and I thought to myself, God, I'm at the end of a 7 year cycle. Now what? And the next few years were kind of wishy washy. I had issues with medicines, and just it was just strange 7 years. Okay. And the last 7 years have been, me becoming a hermit, and me learning more about being a shaman, and um, um, I was going to say being more serious about it, but I've always been serious about it. But I could honestly say that my seriousness has intensity. So 25 years ago or 30 years ago, I was interested, but not to devote every day to it. But I was studying, going to powwows, and my heart was there. I wanted peace on the earth, and so my connection with Mother Earth was there. I had purchased the property, I lived here, I'm living close to nature, and so for me, that 7 year period of basic, learning. Hmm, how do I put this? Learning about nature's connection with the great spirit. Okay. It was very new to me then. I was still tied into religions. And, but this last 7 years, I can honestly say, has been much different, right? Hey, Steve, I got your messages and I'm sorry, but I was busy and didn't call you back. My apologies. But I did have a good birthday. My sister kidnapped me for the day and a half, and then other friends came and got me and kidnapped me for the rest of the day and into the early wee mornings of Sunday morning early. Anyway, and so um, looking at my life always, not necessarily comparing, but oddities like, I remember that, and dang, if it wasn't, how long ago was that? Well, that was 14 years ago. Well, that's a multiple of two sevens, right? Um, just stuff. So the oddities that where the 7 years or the multiple of seven was showing up just without even paying attention to it. Like blah, blah, blah. Well, it was 13 years ago. Well, that's almost 14. I mean, that's part of a cycle. And then before that, it was how many years ago was it? Well, it was 20 years ago, which is close to 21 years ago, which is again a multiple of seven. So it's like, well, wait a minute now. It wasn't exactly every seven, but it was really close within a year or so, you know? Um, 13 versus 14. or 15 years versus 14. That's pretty close. And depending on where it was on the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at 7 year cycles every time, so the next one up is 77 for me. That'll be an easy one to get, right? Um, so at 63, I started my this 7 year cycle, right? So then 63, not necessarily quote, um, is a whole number, right? Divided by, what do you divide 63 by, right? But anyway, so, but the idea though that that's about the time when this other change came about and other things swap, changed, realities, ways of thinking, or whatever. So, where are you in your um, cycles of seven? As I was thinking earlier, cycles of seven. Now, does it really mean anything? I mean, to the points of some folks that that every cell in your body regenerates and everything redoes itself every 7 years. And so I thought 7 years ago, I got 7 years to fix this. Well, here I am at the end of this last 7 years and 10 sessions of sevens. Hmm, heart attack. Okay. But I'd quit taking medicines back then. I'd changed my diet and everything. I mean, so it, from my standpoint, and talking with my buddy who sat right in the chair there the other day, he's like, man, I wished I'd known this earlier, and I wished I had done this, and I wish, and 2 years younger than me, in a lot worse shape than me. Praying for him that they can do what they need to do without cracking his chest. But he's like, if they got to do it, he said, I want them to do it. He said, I want to live. He said, I'm not ready to die. I want to live. And I'm like, me too. you know, I want to live too. So if we got to make changes and rearrangements, then want to live? Yeah. Okay. Then let's do this. So I don't know where he is in his 7 year cycle. He's because he's 2 years younger than me. It's off a little bit. Hey, Diane, how are you? And a great big hug right back to you. Um, what can I do in this next 7 years? I really don't know. But after having discussion with my friends and family the other day, and some of you all too, which you're friends and family, I was like, the next 7 years, I can tell you this. I don't want to just sit on my ass and look out the window and complain about my heart condition. I want to have, I want to go on adventures. I don't know what kind, but I'm going to go on adventures because the next 7 years is going to dang sure be an adventure because I'm 70 and I've had all this previous life and I've had all this experience, whatever. And also because because of this birthday, and I do think it's a multiple of sevens, that I feel like it's not necessarily a new start, a new beginning. It doesn't feel new, but it does feel like a beginning. And I've been trying to figure it out like, what the hell? Now, y'all know for the last 8 months, I've been talking about how close I'm getting to 70, right? And I've been making a big joke of it. But so here I am sitting on it, and I'm like, what difference does it make? Well, it feels different. I cannot explain it. It feels different. Was not expecting it to feel different, you know. And I think it's in my own head, right? it's the multiple of sevens, and it's the this, and it's the that. And, but the having the conversation with my sister and my buddy, I was like, do you feel like you got another chance or something? A new era, a new, and I'm like, I really do. But I ain't figured out what or how or where it's going, not a bit, except that it's going to be an adventure, and I'm damn sure looking forward to it. So, but the multiple of sevens I had not discussed with them, but it was already in my head and kind of cogitating. So I don't know where this number seven's going to go or what it means. I'm hoping it to be a lucky seven. 7 times 10, 70. Okay. So that means I could have rolled the dice 7 come 11. And if I'd have rolled a 7 every time, I'd have been a winner. Okay. That's a nice way to look at it. But what about other folks? What about other folks and their patterns of 7? Have any of you all seen patterns in sevens? Just wondering. I just found this on Google. In astrology, what's known as a 7 year cycle can dramatically shift our reality and human existence. You guessed it, 7 years, there are shifts and changes in the cosmos that influence the energies in our lives in major ways. Thank you, Chloe. And see, I've read stuff like that too. But that just backs up my point about the 7. Looking into fasting for heart, it will be great for you. Yeah, I don't eat much. And I kind of sort of fast on a regular basis. They said there were 7 7 year cycles. Yep. And I think also, if I'm not mistaken, there's something about the 7 years in the Jewish calendar, because a couple of years ago it was about sevens, and because my birthday's always, around Yom Kippur and the this and that, in September and all. Um, but so I had a weird, never mind. But yeah, so the 7 year thing. So it's an interesting point of view. Now, like in the cosmos, where did the 7 years start? You know, is there a cycle that starts with my birthday? And I don't necessarily mean September 24th, but 1952. So a lot of baby boomers, a lot of us, born in 52, 51, 52, 53, in that right there, and later, of course, too, and earlier, but the 52ers were all dragons, water dragons, I believe, and in that cycle of things. So what does that mean to the grand scheme of things? That the folks born in 1952, a lot of us, who are now 70 years old, we've reached that 10 cycle times 7, right? So is this like a a sacred number in that for us who was born in 52, to bring us into the 2022 cycle, that we've made it this far, and that we were dragons, and there are a lot of stories about dragons out there, right? Bunch of stories about dragons. So is there any importance to those of us who are dragon, born under the sign of the dragon? Could that mean anything? What does it mean? Or is it just BS, right? For me, it is symbolic, at least. You know, what does it mean to me? It means that I made it. After all this trouble and all this stuff in between, I've made it. I'm so grateful to the universe. It's 1:19. We got 1 minute for a 20. I wonder what I am other than Gemini, born in 55. 5 plus 2 is 7. Yep. I'll do a bowl with you. Happy birthday. I know I have to slow down. And every time I pick up a cigarette or take a hit, which is much smaller than normal, I think, well, that's, got to be careful for my heart if I want to live any longer. Well, I really want to, yeah, but do you want to live longer too? Well, yeah, well then put it down. Put that cigarette out. Don't smoke it. So, um, so some of the things that have been running through my head recently had some interesting dreams after eating all that chocolate on my birthday. And some of it was like, all right, so you're here now and you had your little near death experience and so forth. And you were told you can't stay, and I got to come back. And okay, so now that I'm officially 70, like it means something. And I think that the spirits are trying to tell me this is a new start. But I really don't know how or what. A new start, a new chapter, a new something. But I'm an old fart, you know. New ways of thinking. Yeah, but I'm an old fart. New ways of perceiving things in the universe. Well, I'm always kind of sort of doing that because I'm an old fart. But I don't know. It's all I know is it's going to be interesting. There are lots of adventures that I would love to go on, and I'd love to take, some of you. If y'all could ride with me, I would do so. Now, I've got some video that shame on me I have not uploaded to the channel yet. It's Duggar and me on the Little River. It's Duggar and me on the Yoclockney. And the other day we went to another river that I want to go down, and it's the Withlacoochee. And it's, we didn't go on the river, but I took some video of the river and the bridge and down there. It's really interesting. It's really cool. So, but I would love to take y'all with me just on these adventures, right? So, not sure where these adventures are going to be. I know some of them are going to be on different rivers. I know there are different places that, since my truck is running better and seems to be pretty much fixed, still got my brakes to do and a couple others minor things, but I want to go traveling and maybe go out and go see Barry. I would love to go back out to the Ozarks before I get too old to be able to see a few things that while I was there. I'd love to take my kayaks out to the Buffalo River. And if anybody came with me or came to visit, we could all go kayaking because I'd throw all three of them on my trailer and haul ass. And anybody that wanted to go with me, come on, let's go have fun, right? So I still haven't been able to talk anybody into going with me on the river yet. I know Isby, if you're still listening, you want to go and get yourself up here, and we'll figure out a day. Or any else of you who might want to go on the river. But these local folks, man, I try. I can't twist their arm into going. I'm like, come on, man, come on, come on, come on. Never mind. But anyway, so yeah, 7 years of adventures. Well, the last seven have been adventurous, and I have gone a few places and been on the river and have spent time in the kayak and canoe. And in the last 7 years is when I bought the canoe and the kayaks and so forth, and have gotten back on the water. But so yeah, adventures. There's some places I would like to go just to go sit and meditate. I mean, there are just some places I'd just like to go sit by the river or sit somewhere on the mountaintop or or down in the valley. It wouldn't matter. But there are places where I would just like to go and meditate and be able to say that I went there. You know, have you ever been to it? Yep. I went there once and I sat on a rock and meditated, you know, and cogitated, you know. You did what? I went there and cogitated. Yep, 3 hours from your area to here. 3 hours? How about 13 hours? 3 hours, Barry? Nah, 13 at least. And that's if you're hauling ass. If you get to the Ozarks, let me know because I'm not that far from Ozarks in Missouri. Right. I know, Steve. If I got out that way, I haven't been to Kansas, but you know, actually, we crossed over into Kansas, and then what side of the river did we go up? Anyway, oh yeah, I will be doing that, Chloe. Some of these things that I want to do though are going to require like the Withlacoochee. It's not a river that I'm going to be able to paddle up. It was flowing way too fast. But on the on another hand, it's got a rock bottom and seems to be spring fed along the way. The water was clear and cold. There were little tiny rabbits along the way, and and much different from the other rivers down here, like the Oclockney, sandy bottom. If you find a rock, you'd be lucky. The Little River, sandy bottom. You'd be lucky to find a rock. With Lacucci, a little further east, and the whole thing's nothing but rocks. Can't find sand. That's going to be interesting. But the river flow was so quick that if you got on it, you could be 9 miles down the river easy. I mean, without paddling, all you'd have to do is steer. So, but some of these adventures, I'm going to have to, you know, try to coerce. If I got to pay somebody to pick me up after I go down the river myself, I don't know. But anyway, um, hey, Fox Spirit, how you doing? I made it to my 70th and working on the next years. But I'm sure that Spirit is going to inspire me for things to do, for people to meet. Um, it you know, so I'm open. You know what I mean? Having had this heart attack experience and all that goes with it, it just I don't know. Even a bad day's a good day. Like I had a hangover Sunday. I ain't gonna lie. Boy, I was having trouble because I was up till about 4 in the morning on Saturday night. So Sunday was a little sketchy, and I was still kind of hungover yesterday too. But it was a good kind of hungover in that I had a good time over the weekend, right? But it took me, and I no, I didn't drink any alcohol, no, but the candy bar, woo, let me tell you. So it left me with good thoughts. Um, and having spent time with my sister, who surprised me to no end, plus my friend who came up with her, um, just absolutely great. Having not knowing that my sister really wanted to come up and visit, especially after the heart attack, she said, we have those close calls like that. And she goes, I just wanted to come up and see you. Well, she didn't say anything about it. So there is this silent anticipation because my sister was talking to her son, Derek, and Brad, and other people to come up and have a camp out over the weekend, which is what I was trying to get other folks to do. But she was trying to organize this by herself, you know, unbeknownst to me. And so I was like, man, I sure am glad I didn't plan on going nowhere, because y'all would have come up and I'd been gone. Be careful next time, make sure I'm going to be home. And it was a lovely surprise, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I was crying. I was like, man, shoot, y'all come up here and just to spend the night and spend the day and smoke a little bit and we went out to eat and wow, thank you. I mean, really, thank you. So, but like they said, it got them away from down there, away from Tampa, which is just getting nutty. And, and right now they're fixing to get a hurricane. Um, so there's many of us up here in the panhandle of Florida and Georgia, me in southwest corner of Georgia, who have gotten hammered by hurricanes over the years. And I was watching the Channel 8, Channel 10, the local Tampa news, and on YouTube, and they were watching the chat and all the people who were having questions. Is it going to hit this county or that county? And what's it going to be like? And it's like these poor, I'm sorry, these poor dumbasses who have moved to Florida. And if you see the cone, and the weather is going to be like this. And if you live in that cone, this is what you can expect. People asking some dumbass questions. I'm talking about dumbass questions. Well, but I live near Sarasota. How bad is the weather going to be? Can you not see that the cone is pointed right at Sarasota at the moment with 120-mile-an-hour winds? Now, if you live near Sarasota, what can you expect? 120-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. Oh, well, I live just south of Sarasota. What can I expect? 120-mile-an-hour winds with lots of rain. I live inland, on the basically on the other side of the state. What can I expect? Well, you're not even in the damn cone, but there's lots of rain and tropical storm warnings, which can be 20, 35, 20 to 40 mile an hour gusts of wind and stuff like that. Some of these folks are like dumb ass. uh, Here's the information. You can read it. It's on the chart, and they're typing these questions in to the very nice weatherman who was kind enough to answer. But I was looking at this going, oh, there's another dumbass question. Well, can you not look at the radar? Can you not look at the map? Where do you live? Where is your house on this map? Well, I live right about here. Well, you're 30 miles inland from the ocean. Can you expect tropical storm winds? Or are you going to get hurricane type winds? Well, what does it say on the chart, dumbass? I just Good God Almighty. And the patience of this gentleman who was on, I think it was Channel 10 on the YouTube channel thingy and answering questions out of the chat room. I was like, dude, you've got more patience than I do. Because I would have said, hey, you dumbass, can you not see this chart? Can you not see this cone that I'm pointing at with my little arrow thingy? Can you not see where the winds drop out and what's expected in the next 20 to 48 hours? Well, I live near Jacksonville. What can I expect? I'm not even going to answer your question because there are people in Sarasota that need answered. You're in Jacksonville for crying out loud, dumbass. Can you not see this chart? I, I'm just, I'm sorry. And I've lived through, oh my God, a bunch of them in my lifetime. I mean, a bunch of them before I moved up here to South Georgia. But in one year, we had like four tropical storms hit us, one right after the other. And several years ago, when Michael hit us, that flattened areas, flattened my neighbor's barn again, had tornado go over the house and tear up trees in the backyard and mucked up a bunch of stuff out of electricity here for like 5 days. The city of Meigs was almost flattened. There wasn't a telephone pole standing anywhere. There were wires everywhere, no electricity or phones or nothing. And them folks in Tampa worried about a little storm surge. And, we had 80 to 90 mile per hour winds this far inland. We had gusts up to 120 mile an hour, around here. Corn was flattened sideways, you know, and them folks in Tampa, oh, I worry for them. I do, because they've not been hit by a strong storm. They've been north of Tampa, they've been south of Tampa, but Tampa and St. Petersburg has not been hit by a sure enough major storm like we have up here. We've been hit by several major storms, and I'm 100 and whatever miles inland and have gotten smashed. So, but them poor folks in Florida are panicked. Some of them are panicked. Oh, Lord have mercy. And we used to just, um, put plywood over the picture window and get extra water and get some munchies, and we'd all get together in the house and have a sleepover and have a hurricane party. Not necessarily get drunk or whatever, but just everybody get together, play board games or whatever, have flashlights and candles and support each other. Oh, the high winds, ooh, we're all scared, ooh, okay, and I'll make it out the next day. But at the house in Tampa where I grew up, there was Hurricane Donna that came through back in this early 60s, like 62 ish or 63, and knocked several trees down from our front yard. And only one came close to the house. The other ones flew across the road and away from the house. Then a few years later, in the middle 60s, there was a hurricane that came through and crash landed on our camper that we had next to the house. So we and landed next. We crushed the camper and landed on the corner of the house, but didn't do any severe damage. So, I mean, but we've had damage from hurricanes and whatever, have lived through them. Had to, cut the tree out to get out of we couldn't even drive out of our driveway because of the trees. So the roads were flooded in Tampa to where people had canoes, were floating up and down the streets and paddling, and we as kids we did the same thing. And I remember those days. But Tampa hadn't really been hit by anything, and I'm not wishing that it did. but the people around there don't have any experience of what a tropical storm or a hurricane would do, nor what to do or how to hunker down or whether or not you live in a low area. You know, if it rains really hard and your yard's flooded, you're in a low area. Okay, I'm just saying. Um, if it don't drain really quick, you're in a low area. And most of Florida is in a low area, you know, especially south of Tampa. I mean, where I lived in our neighborhood, you know, I looked at a USGS map and we were 10 feet above sea level. Well, we were way inland, but we were still only 10 feet above sea level. So, you know, unless you get around Zephyr Hills and Dade City where there are actually hills, you live in a low lying area. That's all there is to it. But anyway, but to go back to the 7 year thing, there was a period, and it was back in the 70s when I first moved up here, and I was watching that, you know, that there seemed like every 7 years there was like a really bad storm. And I have lost track of that. But there was Camille that hit back in the 60s that wiped out parts of Alabama and Mississippi and killed a bunch of people. You know, we had uh, the one that hit New Orleans. We've had Michael that came through the Panhandle, and thank God it didn't kill a bunch of people. But you know, how many years between them? You know, I was just, you know, the cycle of things. Well, in the cosmos, there's that 7 year cycle that Chloe brought out, or brought up. Um, I'm just going to keep an eye on the next 7 years. But the multiple of sevens, where does it matter? Well, for those of us who know about the 72s, and Dante, you know, and I was going to do a video about the silent 72s again, but it just hasn't been the right time yet. Um, but and how my being 70 and yesterday I was 70 plus 2 days. So that made it like a 72. Follow me? That's a stretch. But cosmically thinking, wherever you are in your set of sevens, it doesn't matter, because if you're, you know, if you start from your birthday and you're 7, you're 14, you're, you know, multiples of 7, it ain't hard to figure out where you are in yours, right? So it's sort of like, I was looking at it sort of like the butterfly card. So the butterfly card is that, you know, you're either, you know, a tiny little caterpillar, and then you go into, you know, the another stage, and then you go into the chrysalis, and then you become the butterfly. So there are different stages of the of becoming a butterfly, right? And what each of those stages mean. Well, so in the 7 years, so if you're in the beginning of a 7 year stint, then you can look at it and go, ooh, I got 5 more years in this. I can consciously put effort into the next 5 years of the 7, if you were interested in following that. Or you could look back and go, what was the last 7 years like? Pathetic. Okay, so I can make a choice in my life, which I'm doing now, in that rather than sit and just look out the window and bitch about my heart, I'm gonna go on adventures. I don't know what they are yet or how extensive. I just know I'm gonna do it. And I know that the next 7 years is gonna be an adventure with everything that's going on in the universe and in the world and stuff. It's gonna be an adventure. So that's like a no-brainer. But for somebody else that might be in the middle of a stint or towards the end of one, they can stop and go, well, you know what? You know, I'm almost, I don't know, multiple of 7 somewhere. Um, 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, so you're 35 years old, or you're 33 years old, or you're 37 years old. So but you're just around. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Been thinking about you, hoping everything's okay. Um, but in that multiple of seven, so I'm almost 35, so I'm almost in the end of a 7 year cycle. So how does that fit you, Bubba or Bubette? You know, or do you do you even give a shit, right? I mean, honestly, do you care? But if you're looking at your life and you go, wow, it just seems like, well, where are you in your 7 year cycles? Maybe you could pick up at 37 and go, I'm 2 years into this next 7 years. What do I want to make of it? So rather than saying, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, which can change drastically, and every 7 years there could be this pattern. For me, it has kind of sort of worked out that way. Not exactly, but enough. I mean, this happened in a 7 year period. This happened in a 7 year period. This happened in a 7 year period at different intervals in my life. Ooh, okay. I can say that. Did they happen every 7 years, like on the dot? No. But these events, like having work or being out of work or going into the hospital, having whatever, happened during these 7 year intervals, okay, within a cycle of seven. So, where is your cycle of seven? And can you take control of it? Do you want to? Hey, David Castle, how are you? I did not answer your email, but I got it. And thank you. I've been a little foggy headed. I had a chocolate bar experience on my birthday Saturday night. Okay. And I took 2 pieces of chocolate, then ended up taking 3 and then 4, and I should have stayed at 2. But anyway, the chocolate bar experience was wonderful. What time is it? 1:47 a.m. It's almost, it's an hour and 2 minutes. So I just want to take another hit. I've been very, very careful. I'm learning to sip when I smoke. I know it's not good for me, so I'm very careful. I went overboard Saturday, let me tell you, but I had a good time. Cheers. But my 70th, my 10th cycle of seven does seem like there's something new out there or something. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I hit the end of a 7 year cycle. I've hit the end of a 10 cycles of seven, the 70 mark. But there does seem to be something about it. It's really an odd feeling. It really is. And but I'm here. I'm looking forward to the next 7 years. Um, there's nothing in particular planned except that with all this, with the heart attack came good blood, good chest, good all these other good reports. So instead of looking at the next 7 years as, oh, woe is me, I'm going to die, Okay, I've already had that NDE, and I understand what it's like on the other side, kind of thing. And I'm not ready to go yet. I think there's going to be adventures of the heart, literally from learning about the heart and learning about being better, learning about stress. And talking with my friend the other day who was here, and his heart's really in bad shape. He was having just trouble walking and having to stop and take a breath. And I'm like, Jesus, goodness gracious, I can walk up to the driveway and back and not get winded. He can't do that. Oh my goodness. Now I get that. Um, and how it's affecting people my age and around me and neighbors and uh, it the reality of it all, and that death is like this close for any of us with a heart attack issue kind of thing. We got to watch our p's and q's, but we're not scared. I mean, he went out and we walked around the yard and we stopped when we needed to, and so there is that. I'm limited with what I can do, and I'm not scared to go my limit, but I don't want to die. And he kept saying, "Man, Dave, I don't want to die, man. I hope this stent and everything works, and if they got to do open heart, okay, but they've got other ways to doing certain things without cracking your chest." And I'm worried for him too, because of his condition. And so, but we ain't the only ones. I know that, but it somehow it brings me closer, or I understand it better. I don't know what it is, but death is always there now. But I'm looking for the life part of it, without worrying about the death part. Um, and the adventures. So there are adventures with people. There are going to be adventures with topics for discussion. Like Robert and I were talking about the Inca and that guy and those folks down in Peru and along down there, and how these this husband and wife, brother and sister, just showed up one day and taught this new way of thinking and government and agriculture and all kinds of stuff. Where did they come from, right? Well, the ancient alien thing, we have to understand that our ancestors, our ancestors, um, the universal ancestors, the knowledge that's out there, and by collective thinking, by collective meditation, by collective compassion, by collective kindness, what can we achieve with that? And the fact that, there were 17 of you just a few minutes ago who were on in the middle of the night, collectively having a conversation. And, I want to explore that as an adventure. Like, how can come up with a theme like how can we show kindness more as like a collective? You know, is there a topic that we could bring up sometime and that we would collectively discuss the word kindness, or towards, instead of bitching about Russia all the time, we try to show kindness to them. And it ain't Russia's fault, but uh, can we collectively pray for a certain thing? But what do we pray for? Do we pray for peace? Do we pray for kindness? Um, is it a collect? Is it worth trying to even be a collective? What is our intentions? Should we even try this stuff? I mean, there's all, but the adventure of it is like, other people have proven it, that if a group of people has, meditates or focuses on something, that there can be a change. So for the next 7 years, how can we get together maybe once a month and have a collective uh, group prayer meeting kind of thing? We're going to meditate on this. And I know there's the Lion's Gate, and there's this gate, and there's a that thing, there's the solstice, there's full moons, there's new moon, there's all types of pick something, celestial, if you will. Or we could just pick a day and go, we're all going to just meet together here, and we're going to get together for the first 10 or 15 minutes and get settled in, and then we're going to have 10 or 15 minutes and we're going to just meditate on kindness, and maybe we're going to meditate towards a person that we hope that Joe Biden becomes more of a kind old man, and or maybe we could pray that Kamala Harris will actually, get some brains, you know um, that somehow she would actually get a clue. Who knows? I'm sorry. I'm picking on people, ain't I? Hey, Fox Spirit, an update on the collective library. Oh, you're making your own cocoa. Ooh, that sounds good. Wait, I missed. Yep, intent. Absolutely. Dandelion. Well, but anyway, so in our personal groups of seven, our group 7 years, do we want to affect change within ourselves and say, well, I just turned 70, or I just turned 35, or some other multiple of seven. And I just realized that I want to make a change in my life, and I'm going to focus on the next 7 years. Back a few years ago, I had a 7 year plan, and I only made it through five of those seven, and then it went down. But there was some positive that came out of that 7 year plan. So now I'm thinking again, not just my how long am I going to live? I want to live longer than the next 7 years. I would like to, but I'll take what I can get, right? But if I use seven as a multiple of what can I do in the next 7 years? What can I achieve? And do I freaking care about what happens in the next 7 years? Do I want to just coast the next 7 years and see what happens? Or do I want to plan something for the next 7 years? I'm retired. I live by myself with me and Duggar. And so we can plan anything we want to within reason and monetary, we're not rich, so we're limited with what we have. Hey, Katniss, how are you? Good to see you. So, but maybe I want to go get a college degree. Maybe I want to go learn how to do something. Maybe I want to go travel somewhere. Maybe, so, but the point is that um, not that 70 is anything special. But it is 70 years for God's sakes. It's just hard for me to comprehend that. 70. What? Versus 20, 30, 50. Um, so the next 7 years, and do I want to plan? Well, why not? It gives me something to do. I mean, well, if I don't plan something for the future, well, my house is paid for. I'll still get my check. I can look out the window, Duggar, and I can still go for walks. The river's still down the road. We can still go floating once in a while. Yeah, okay, but that kind of sounds a little mundane. But if you say, well, in the next 7 years, I'm going to go on and I'm going to go on adventures. I'm going to feel adventurous. Now, that could mean instead of going the same way back and forth to town, that I take another road. It could be instead of sitting here one day, I decide to go over and to the river. And whether I go paddling or not, we go over to sit and watch the water go by, like over to the Flint and sit up on the high bank, and it's beautiful up there. So we just go over and just sit there, just to watch and meditate. Maybe take the drum, which I've done before. Um, or I've talked with my next door neighbor. There's a couple of wildlife areas around here, and I haven't been to, and I've been putting them off. Now, basically, because my truck hadn't been running very well, or not at all, and that's pretty much been taken care of. So once a month, Duggar and I can go check some of these places out. And that's an adventure. We don't have to go real far. It's 45 miles, maybe 50 miles. That's not really far. But when you're used to just going 10 miles back and forth to the store, 50 miles is 5 times more than that. You know what I mean? But it's an adventure. So the things that can be an adventure, it could be finding a coffee shop in the next town and going in and sitting down and just having coffee, or going to a park, or do. My point is that if I choose to make things an adventure, then it's gonna make, wow, I'm going on an adventure. That's exciting. It gets my blood pumping. The adrenaline flowing. I'm going to go do something exciting, or I don't know. I'm going to go on this adventure. It might turn out to be yuck, or it might turn out to be just really thrilling, and take pictures and remember it for the rest of your life, kind of thing. And it may just be a drive in the country, which the other day we took a drive in the country and it was beautiful. Oh my God, the peanuts that are growing down here. Peanuts and cotton, cotton and peanuts, peanut and cotton. I mean, one field of peanuts, big field, another field, cotton right beside it. Psoom. Cotton, peanuts, peanuts, cotton. Didn't see any corn. And I mean, we drove quite a few miles through the country, and not a lick of corn do we find growing on the particular where we went. Saw some soybeans and some other things, but peanuts, oh my God, the peanuts that they're growing down here this year in Georgia. Now, Georgia's known for its peanuts, yes, but oh goodness gracious, I mean, field after field after field of peanuts, when usually there's corn and different things mixed in. It was cotton and peanuts, oh my God, just really odd to see just those two in the amount. But anyway, but the good news is, oh my God, there's peanuts everywhere. Bald peanuts. Oh man, they turning over the peanuts now, letting them dry and combining them. Yeah, peanuts is going to town right now down here in South Georgia. Anyway, but the adventure is to go get some more, get some boiled peanuts from somebody. Or the adventure is to go, um, anyway, there are lots of things to be adventurous with. Also, for me, there are certain subjects that spirit guides have been like, what do you know about this subject? Well, not much. Do you care? Well, I haven't really. Like, well, that's an interesting subject, but, I don't care about that rabbit hole. But in the next 7 years, they're like, well, maybe there are some of these things that I have brushed over in the past that it was like, yeah, that's cool, but, well, what about this? Yeah, that's cool, but, you know. Where, years ago, before, way back in the day, I was studying Egyptology. I had the Egypt Book of the Dead in 1974. It cost me like $75. Great big book and big, hardbound with pictures and I'm very much into um, ancient Egypt and things way back early in my career, and it's not necessarily so great a thing now because I've started back when I was 16 years old, where other people just started getting into Egypt. But there are other countries and there are other places and there are other things that I haven't studied that maybe I would like to get into more detail for myself and then share it. So, that to me is a mental adventure, right? To meditate on certain things, um, and going to certain places that have like where two ley lines might cross. There's an area near here that supposedly a ley line crosses. So, and near the river, near the Flint River. So, to go to that location where there is a ley line in the neighborhood and sit there and meditate or maybe spend the night or something and just see what happens. That would be an adventure. Um, you know, to go visit, there's the haunted bridge down on near Quitman, um, just to go down there and maybe be there at night and take pictures of some orbs or something. That would be an adventure. You know what I'm saying? So being adventurous in different areas that um, interest me, and maybe find some things that don't interest me that maybe I should check into for the hell of it. Well, this doesn't really interest me. Well, but maybe you should read about it anyway. Yeah, but it really doesn't. Go that extra mile. And it might be that, you know, going deeper in the subject, you're still not interested. You know what I mean? I seen something on TV the other day. It was dog racing. What? Yeah, there was little poodles and and floppy eared uh you know wiener dogs, and just I was like, what? Chasing this handkerchief across the ground. What? And they were having finals. And I was like, what? In big arenas with lots of people. What? You got little dogs, big dogs racing to see who's the fastest in the fancy dog. I was like, what? And it's a sport, it's a thing. What? you know, okay, I can see you got pretty dogs and everything, but now you race them and they chase this little thingy and now you time them and they got class. And I was like, oh my God. And now it's on network television. I mean, it's like, what? I never knew. I never knew that little dachshunds and little Pekingese have races, What? It's like, the uh, um, Mark Twain and the Frogs of Calico County or something, and where the one he had the Hoppy Frogs of something anyway, and it was they had bullfrogs, and so the one bullfrog used to jump all over the place, and he was known for how high and how far it could leap. And one guy sabotaged his frog by putting lead pellets and feeding it to the frog so the frog couldn't jump. Now, but anyway, what? So there are things and adventures and stuff that I'm like, there are things that I'm going to look into simply because I never looked into them before as an adventure. Like, well, I don't know about this, and blah 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 blah, but it'll keep me from being bored. So many people that I find these days, younger than me, my age, that are just bored to tears. And I just like, look at this great big world. How in the hell can you be bored? I mean, honest to goodness, how in the dickens can you be bored? I just, I can't fathom that. Now I know I've got property and I can go for walks, but it's not always about my 18 acres and going for a walk. I mean, there are places I can drive down to the river. I can go over here. There are things that I can visit. There are books that I can read. My sister was here and she was upstairs going through stuff. She goes, David, she goes, you got books about all kinds of stuff. You got a whole library of this and that over here and this. And she goes, oh my God, your place is like a museum. You got all kinds of stuff in here. And I was like, yeah, well, 40 years of living here and collecting stuff, right? Hey, Lady Spitfire, how are you? My first VA stay was in Augusta. Self a Nintendo type, my brother. Now, see, that's one thing. Back when video games first came out, I was into them big time. And I'm not into video games now. They do not appeal to me. The bang bang shoot 'em up Nintendo stuff, I, Donkey Kong, none of it appeals to me. It just now playing mahjong or um, different types of card games or something like that, or maybe an online chess game. But these other kinds of games, no, I am just not into them. And I don't really see how some other folks get so into them, but it's just not for me. Um, but there are other things that um, I would like to delve into. Um, and I can't think this damn one of them at the moment, but because I'm getting tired and it's quarter after 2 in the morning kind of thing. Um, but it's 2:13 a.m. and about 2:20 I'm gonna quit. You still got your Atari? Yeah, but I started out on the Commodore 64 with Frogger. There wasn't even any animation or anything to go with it. Now, the first game that I really got into that was like it, it finally came out on CD when CDs first came out. played Wolfenstein or something like that. Ooh wee, and that wasn't much. But it was called Descent, and it was that you went down into this alien planet. There were mines. There were miners down there, and that there were different robot machines that were attacking. And you had to go down in these mines, get rid of the attackers, and pick up the trapped miners in different places in the mines that you had to find. And that one was, it was a bang bang shoot 'em up, but it was robots. There wasn't no blood or guts or nothing like that. You had to go down into the labyrinth and go through the tunnels and find secret passages and pick up extra ammunition and stuff, and go save the trapped miners. That was cool. But I haven't found a game that was anything like it since. And I don't know if I would get into playing Descent now or not, but at the time it was like cool. There was also a submarine game that I really liked, um, and a flight simulator. Come to think of it, um, but the computers were too slow back then, and now I just don't have an interest in it. But learning how to fly an airplane, yeah, I would like to do that. But now I got heart failure. I still, Foxfire was my favorite game back then. I don't know what that one was. But anyway, so my dear friends, it's 2:16 a.m. on 9/28, 2022. I got a doctor's appointment on Thursday, which today is now Wednesday. They're supposed to do some kind of lung test on me or something. I'm not quite sure, but I got to go back to the hospital. An arena type poop ball game. Yeah, I got Star Fox 64. Yeah, I played a bunch of games. I've wasted so much money back in the day, and the computers wouldn't run the games. You'd get these games, and they would half-ass work. Um, and it just, I've still got a bunch of them in that are CDs, and they're you know uh, they were games that were started up by certain people and this and that, and um, but you put them in and you try to run them, and there's glitches, and the program is half-assed, and oh my god, the money I spent on games. And I got frustrated because it wouldn't work right. And you try to get updates. And back in the day when you were still working with modems, I mean, dial up modems, you know, um, and the games were, oh, a dime a dozen, but some of them were really expensive and they still didn't work. The computers were too slow to run the um, the graphics. I bought super duper graphics cards to run them. Oh, the money I spent to no good. Now they got stuff that runs so fast now for a third of the money that I spend on some of these motherboards and graphics cards. Now I was doing the graphics cards was not just for gaming, but I was doing AutoCAD, and I needed quick graphics to be able to regenerate the drawings I was doing. But as far as some of these games and stuff, anyway. Oop, 219. Catch up. So it's Wednesday morning, 2:20 a.m. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful that I'm still here. I'm grateful my heart condition is not near as bad as all these other folks I'm finding out about. I'm grateful that at 70 years old, I have the opportunity to do another 7 years, to do another multiple of seven. So, and that would be a 7-11. At 77, that would be 11 and 7, right? 77. So, interesting combination. So if you're anywhere and playing dice, 7 come 11, don't get them box cars. But so I love you all. I do. Um, it's good to see you all, and I'm hoping that all of you stay healthy. I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and many blessings in the universe. Yeah, for a few minutes, Isby. I don't feel like I'm going to be awake long. But in this world of stuff and in this cosmos of things and all the changes, there is so much information from our elders, from the ancients, from our whether you believe in them or not, our alien friends, because um, there's just too much evidence that we've had help from other places. And some people called them gods, and others called them elders, and others called them visitors, you know, um, the oblong heads and so forth. But there's so much in this universe that's out there, but we have to be open to receive it. So each and every day, I will continue to pray that each and every one of you and your friends and family and all of your relations will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge and the healing and the wisdom and the blessings that are in the universe. The ant people, yep. And in that law of three, which I do think is important to you and me, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn, because it's an ongoing process, will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. So, cheers, my friends. Keep the faith. Believe, 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 believe. And I want to do a show on ego because you have to have enough ego to get things accomplished, even on a small daily basis. But when ego gets out of control and ego becomes a part of you and it eats you, um, remember that we need ego to learn. We have to have enough ego to be friends with other people. We have to have enough ego to shake hands with a stranger and be able to smile and say, "Hi, how are you today? Good to see you." We have to have enough ego to be able to make decisions in our lives. And ego plays a part in how you accept and receive things from the universe. And you have to have enough ego to be able to accept them. And you have to have enough ego to know what to do with what you learn. And you have to have enough ego to be able to control that which is uncontrollable. How about that? So I'm out of here. It's been an hour and 40 minutes, not too long. but I am here in the evening, morning time, and it's good to see you all. My blessings, dear friends. Okay, and cheers. And keep it between the ditches, you know. And you know, it's almost wean time, and we want to thank you, Bob, for allowing the show to go on. And for all of you, please be safe and stay out of trouble best you can. And don't let stress bum you out. Cheers, my friends. Till next time.